Hey, what's up, everybody? Mogia Monster here, and welcome to WTF Live Tuesday night. I hope you guys enjoyed Bigfoot Odyssey. It was a good show. It's good to see Hilton. Any other guests? Thankfully, tonight, last minute, I got a guest come on, and I'm really thrilled to have him on. You guys know him from chat, and he's a moderator on the Paranormal Portal, but you also know him from World Bigfoot Radio. Tonight we have on Brian Duke Sullivan. He'll be with me in a minute. He's backstage. But yeah, he'll be coming on. Just want to say hi to everybody in chat and thank you guys like Big Rob for moderating. Bella, if you're here, thank you. Nessie, hi. Digger, Brad, I said hi to you. Living Legendary, what's up? KC, Jamie, I'm glad to see everybody here tonight. I think we're going to have a good show once Duke gets on. If you guys have any questions, along the way, feel free to ask. Just put them in caps so, Mogs, what's the current pants situation? On or off? Right now they're on. It's still early, Ness. We'll see what happens. So yeah, get those questions ready because I know you're going to have some for Duke. But without further ado, let me bring Duke on. Duke, welcome to WTF, or Why the Fascination. How you doing, buddy?
Hey guys.
So yeah, I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to have you on, man. We see each other every night, just about in chat, and I wanted to come up to. I'd planned on coming up to Coloma and visiting with you guys, but I never got up there. It just didn't work out that way. But I haven't ruled it out. I mean, I don't need an outing to go there. So if I ever decide to get up that way, I'll give you a shout.
No, there's still another 6 weeks of squatching going on here before it's over for the year again. Hey, everybody in chat. Hey, Big Rob, Bell, Pam, Pappy Two Bears, Nessie, Digger. Where's Bomber? Howdy, everybody.
Bomber's there somewhere, I'm sure. So how often do you get out and,
Much as I possibly can. I'm pretty limited by the team that I have to go with me, and a bunch of those are family guys, and they can only get like one weekend off a month or something. I got a couple new guys that are in a similar position to me that can go out during the week and stuff, so I'm trying to coordinate more stuff with them. But for example, we've got a big expedition coming up this weekend, and yesterday my vehicle decided to take a crap on me and not start. So I'm now referring to my SUV as a shitty unmoving vehicle. Such time as I can get it to actually start working again. I'm like going, well, if I can't get this thing to work, I'm pretty much gonna have to cancel because none of the guys that are on the team are anywhere around here, so I don't have any ride to get there. So yeah, shitty. Not having a good week here.
So what broke down? I mean,
Still don't know. It's either battery, alternator, or starter. Electric system dead.
Right on. It's not terrible, but still.
Well, it's terrible for me because I don't have any money to fix anything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at next. Bomber's here. Hey, Bomber. Good to see you.
Bomber.
Just wanted to say thank you to you guys for moderating. It's awesome. What else? So you've been doing this for how long? Researching?
I started researching in general in the late 70s. I wasn't doing anything in the field until in the early 80s, probably.
Wow. It's a long time.
Quite a while.
So, since the show...
I found signs of the sneaky little stinky suckers all over the damn country, pretty much everywhere I went. It's not all that hard to find once you know what the hell to look for and where to look for it.
Well, since the show is called Why the Fascination, what was your first encounter? Like, what got you hooked on this?
Self-preservation. My first encounter is when I was 10 years old and I was out sledding and there was one of them sitting behind a tree peeking at us. waiting for both of us to be in the same place at the same time so he could be conveniently easy to grab. But that never happened because it was too dangerous of a sledding run. So we were taking turns going down the hill because it was too damn steep. We were afraid we were going to get killed. We had never actually been down it at full speed. We just made the luge run the weekend before when we were there. So when we were finally testing it out, it was like one guy would sit halfway down the hill and the other one would go up to the top and go down. And we hadn't actually done a full speed run when I got up to the top of the hill and saw this thing looking at me and dove on the sled and went, well, now's a good time to do a full speed run. I really hope those supers work because I'm not slowing down or dragging my legs or feet at all. If they don't work, I'm just flying off and piling into a tree, and I don't care because it's better death than what I'm going to get from that thing up there. So then had nothing to do with the subject for quite a long time until probably about 5 years later, one of them showed up on our yard. And at which point I went, well, I can't avoid the subject by not going in the freaking woods. They're going to show up on the yard anyway. So now I got to find out what the hell these things are, how dangerous they are, and how best to avoid them if necessary. So that's what I've been doing for about the last 40 years since then.
So that was your first encounter, and it was pretty traumatic. What other like?
Well, the second one wasn't any better. There was a party going on at my folks' house, which is very unusual because they had like never had big gatherings there. And this is so counterintuitive because it was the first and probably only time where we had a huge gathering there. And you would think, since we're like half a mile from the nearest neighbor, like every animal with any freaking common sense would be miles away from where all the racket was going. But this one particular one seemed to be interested in it and came right up on the freaking yard and was sitting in the darkness in the driveway when I was walking down the driveway to go get some beer out of one of the adult partiers' cars that he had left in the back seat. And it just sat right there and let me, you were waiting for me to walk right into him, basically. He didn't think I saw him. And initially I didn't. I saw like sunglasses and I was like, who's the clown walking up the driveway in the dark with sunglasses on? That's pretty stupid. And I was walking down the driveway into the dark. And as I'm going down the driveway, I'm getting lower and lower and lower. And the level where the light is up above, see? So as you get lower down below, the cars are blocking the light out. So you get over on the other side of the cars and you get down low enough, you can't see anything down there. It's full of blackness. And all I was seeing was just reflection of these two. They look like 70s style sunglasses, kind of flat across the top, curved around the bottom, and they're green. And I'm like, well, who's the idiot that's wearing sunglasses walking up the driveway in the dark? You know, must be an already drunk adult. I'm going to give him a hard time. So I came walking down the driveway and I got a little bit further down. And then I could see two things that caught my attention. One is that, first of all, the sunglasses had about like 5 inches in between the lenses. So that ain't right. And the second thing is that I could see the outline of the object now that I got down lower. And it was, I initially thought it was a gigantic bear. It was squatting down and it was staring at me. And as I got a little bit closer to it, and the reason I got a little bit closer is because you can't outrun a bear. So if you tip him off that you know he's right there and try and turn and run, you're done. He catches you. So I'm sitting there trying to stall for time, and I'm going slower and slower, and I'm playing with doorknobs and stuff, pretending that I'm trying to get into these cars that I'm not trying to get into, stalling for time, trying to figure out what I'm dealing with. And the first thing that pops into my head is I should try and squeeze in between two of these cars, get over to the right on the other side of the line of cars, because they're so bumper to bumper, whatever this thing is can't get through it. And at the time, I'm thinking it's a huge bear. So a bear isn't going to go scramble over these friggin' cars and try and get at me. And I'm skinny enough, I can squeeze in between the bumpers, right? So I'm playing for time till I get down to the end of the car that I'm standing next to, standing in between the driver and the front and the back doors on the next car in line is where this thing is standing. And about the time I get close to the back end of the car that I'm standing next to, I start realizing that this isn't a freaking bear either. Whatever it is massively wide. It's got shoulders. It's got basically its front limbs are on the ground, like its knuckles are on the ground. It's sitting back on its haunches. And with its front limbs on the ground and sitting back on its haunches, it's still the same height as I am. It's 6 feet tall. So now I'm getting really worried. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to like fake that I'm trying to get into the trunk and squeeze in between the two bumpers. Now, at this point, I'm like 8 feet away from this thing. It can like literally stand up, reach over and grab me. And I have to turn my back to it to squeeze in between the bumper, the front of the one car and the back of the other one. And that was probably the most nervous moment of my life. because I had to literally turn my back on this thing from 8 feet away from it and squeeze in between these two bumpers, pretending like I didn't see it and I didn't know it was there. So as soon as I got to the other side of the car, I ducked down, ran up the line of cars, dove into the house, ran over the gun cabinet, grabbed a shotgun, and ran back out the door. But of course, by the time me and the rest of the party of people with guns got out the door, it was gone. There wasn't anything there anymore. But that was the point where I decided that, yeah, I kind of need to like do some more research about this, because apparently these freaking things are going to come right on the yard. I can't avoid them by not going out in the woods. And so that's kind of what got me started on it. And that was about like spring 1977.
Wow. How old were you then?
About 15.
All right. You're just a little older than I am.
Yeah, I still remember when Kennedy was around.
When what?
Kennedy was around.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I was a little too young for that. Actually, I don't even think I was born. Wait, 67.
Yeah, he was gone before that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just blowing through chat, see if there's any questions. If you guys have questions for Duke, feel free to ask, or me. Let's see. Arizona Squatch, what's up, Kevin? Good to see you. Also, Carrie's here. Ryan Tremblay, what's up, buddy?
Hey, Scottish Wild Man.
Well, tonight so far is a record, 48 in chat right now. Or watching.
Good job, guys. Keep piling in. Tell all your friends.
Yeah, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe and share and whatever the hell else you do down there.
Let's have a Bigfoot jamboree here. Well, I finally got technical issues worked out so I could actually be on here with you. And I was, like warning you I was going to do that. So finally got
No, yeah, that's great, man. And I'm glad you got it figured out, because you sound awesome. Good picture, good everything. It's a good deal. Feed and everything. This is awesome.
Right on. I was on Manimal Research last night, and we had a lot of problems with the feed on that. The first half of the show was just nothing but digital fragments, and I finally had to go into the other room and be right next to the router to get it to work for some reason. Now, tonight, I'm right back where I usually sit when I'm Skyping, when I'm recording my show. So I don't know what to deal with last night.
Well, hey, Real. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in forever. Welcome. Trevor, nice to see you. SoCal.
Hey, Real Dill.
Yeah.
And Trevor.
What else is in here?
Well, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about Bigfoot while we're waiting for people to figure out questions.
Yeah, guys, if you guys have something you want to talk about, throw it in chat and we'll get to it. My situation's about to change. So I'm going to be able to get out more often and get into the field. My problem was logistics and I'd mentioned, the past couple shows, like I haven't had a driver's license for almost 21 years.
That's a problem.
And yeah, no shit. So Friday, I just took and passed my driver's test here in Arizona, and I'll have a license in hand. I mean, it's already paid for and everything, but I'll have it in hand in like 2 weeks.
Right on.
Yeah, man, it's way overdue.
Yeah.
So now once I get a vehicle, I'm going to be making some road trips, and I want to really get a little more into the research side, or just getting out into the woods, not necessarily, it'd be more or less filming and just getting out there more.
Boots on the ground, butt in the field. It's a way to find things out.
Excuse me.
Oh, we got a question from Bomber. What's the scariest Sasquatch and or cryptid encounter story you've ever heard that stuck with you? Wow, I've heard a lot of really scary ones, Bomber.
Is that your answer?
Man, it's like hard to narrow it down,
Well, there's got to be something, because I was going to ask something similar. So there's got to be something that like stuck with you that, besides when you're 10, seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, there's got to be something that stuck in your mind where it really scared the shit out of you.
Well, I don't know. After you have that happen to you personally, no stories that you hear scare the shit out of you anymore. Sorry, it just doesn't. I see regular Bigfoot and it doesn't scare the shit out of me. So there's just like different levels of terror, and after that one, everything else is just a second rate. I'm sorry. No, there's a lot of really scary stories out there. Some of them that are pretty hair raising, or ones that maybe haven't even gone public. One I got sent to me from a researcher up in Alberta, and he had come across one of the shows that I did about Gugwe and realized that he had that's what was going on in this one area he was collecting stories from that didn't make any sense and didn't match with Bigfoot. And then he saw that show and went, oh crap, this is what all these people have been talking about. And so he sent me a few of the different stories that he had collected from up there. And one that really kind of always freaked me out a little bit was there was a guy that had two really big dogs. And I want to say they were like Alaskan Malamute, really big dogs. And so he had a concrete pad for him with the chain link enclosure and stuff to keep him in and whatnot. One night he heard both the dogs just going crazy. So he went out, turned the porch light on, and there was some huge thing on the far side of the enclosure between it and the woods that was screwing around with the enclosure. So he got, I don't know what the hell it is, huge bear or whatever. Couldn't see it very well. Took his rifle and took a couple shots at it, and it roared and ran away. So I believe it was the very next night, same thing happened. Only this time the dogs were really raising hell, and he was hearing stuff getting torn up. And again, grabbed his gun, opened up the door, turned the light on, and this time the thing had actually gotten through the chain link fence and had killed one of his dogs and was taken off with it. So again, he tried shooting at it, and he wasn't sure if he had hit it or not. But right away, he called his buddies and said, hey, I need you over here in the morning. We got something dangerous over here trying to kill my dogs, and I need help hunting it down. So several of his buddies showed up the next morning, and they all took their guns, and they went out to where the fairly obvious trail of the critter that had torn into the enclosure was, and followed the trail out into the woods. And now, after about a quarter mile or so, the trail just kind of petered out. They lost it. So they wandered around for a while trying to find more sign and everything. Didn't have any luck. And when they came back to his house, the missing dog's head was sitting on the porch. And when they came back to his house...
Sorry, I'm listening. I just have to... Story. Oh, okay. I just had to pull up my the channel on my phone so I could see chat and take care of some things. Yeah, that's strange, man.
Yeah, at that point they decided that maybe they weren't going to go hunt something that could easily run circles around them. And while they're out trying to track it, it's going to leave the head of the dog it took off with laying on the porch.
Yeah, it's strange, and it has balls.
Well, it wasn't a Bigfoot either. It was a Gugwe. He got a good look at it the second night, and it was what they call a bear man up there. They've got the snout on them. And they're, according to the reports that I get from them, they're quite a bit more aggressive than regular Bigfoot are. I think the Dewey Lake monster over in Michigan that they've been documenting since the mid-1960s over there is probably the same thing. And they had reports, they've actually got like vocals of this thing howling recorded. Doesn't sound like regular Bigfoot. Tracks from it and stuff, a whole bunch of eyewitness reports. There's been 2 reports of it overturning cars. Ever heard any stories of Bigfoot overturning a car? I never have.
No.
Yeah, these things are a little bit more aggressive than regular Bigfoot are.
Just wee bit.
Yeah, just a wee tiny bit. They don't put up with as much crap, apparently. So luckily, there's hopefully not quite as many of them around. Digger says, how many reports have you had from the Missoula area? Digger, this was a hot spot back in the 1970s and early 1980s. And I didn't realize it until I moved out here and started looking up local Bigfoot reports. And I found out that when I took a map of the Missoula area and I made a little red dot everywhere in the mountains and stuff around it where there had actually been a Bigfoot sighting, that I was surrounded by a red hula hoop. They're everywhere around here. When I had Rich Soul here in 2015, he spent a week here. And other than when we were at the convention doing the lectures for Bigfoot stuff there, He was up in the mountains, and he went to a different place, and sometimes two different places every day. And every place he went, he was finding signs of them, and he was finding huge structures he was getting pictures of. So he was like kid in the candy store when he was out here. This is like like to tell people you could take like Stevie Wonder and Ray Charles up to my favorite research area, and they could find tracks. It's not very freaking difficult.
Oh shit!
They would be an awesome Bigfoot research
stumbling over them.
Yeah, because they'd fall over the damn things. You know, they wouldn't even have to see them. Somebody'd be picking them up, going, "Holy crap! You just fell over a huge track, Stevie."
Oh crap! Yeah, there's a lot of places out here I want to check out besides up on the rim. Just I'd say north from my town north. There's a good canyon, and the Verde River runs through here, and there's stories that back in the day, like the cattle ranchers wouldn't take their cattle up that canyon because of supposed creatures, and that canyon you can come from like Flagstaff, like the elk come down this canyon, and the deer, probably from 7,000 feet, they'll come down another 3,000 to the bottom of this canyon, and it's a really good habitat. So, you know, we've heard. I used to work on a train that went through there, and you'd hear stories like the engineer. You know, when it was a tourist train, you hear the engineer radio back and say, "Oh, there's a bear on the left," and I've never seen a bear there, but it makes me start to wonder if it was a bear. You know,
one of those hill bears.
But there's a lot of places out here I want to check out. So once I'm mobile,
check the waterways. That's always a good one to look. You know, Caveman on top of his mesa there, he's right next to a major waterway, and they use it for a travel route. They'll come up on top of the mesa and, you know, pillage the ranches and stuff up there for free horse feed and stuff to keep themselves fed while they're traveling around. And they like to leave him piles of broken Anasazi pottery for some reason. There's a pile by his house they keep adding to all the time, and he don't like it because the Navajo are just, you know, superstitious about the Anasazi. They're like bad juju. So I don't want their damn pottery. I don't know if you think you're bringing me something I want, but knock it off. You know, these are not trade goods. It's every time he gets enough of them there, every couple of years, he calls the university and has them come out and collect them up and bring them back to the university.
Yeah, there's a few sites locally here that like I could go to now, just the next town over, and there's old walls, really low foundations from I don't know who built it originally, but you find pottery shards all over the place, and I don't remove them. I'll look at them on site, but I leave them on site. I can't see. I just think it's bad luck to remove anything like that from, you know, a site like that.
Yeah, in general, I think it's better to just leave things lying around because you don't know who had them before or what's been connected to them or anything. See, Carrie had a question earlier about, do I think there's Bigfoot has anything to do with paranormal? Well, yeah, absolutely I do. Because I've seen too many examples of weird stuff happen in connection with Bigfoot, and I have tons of researcher friends that have also seen it firsthand. So they asked, you know, all I have to do is listen to enough there. It's like, look, they can show me pictures and tracks and air samples and all this other physical evidence, but they're also talking about these things having, you know, weird paranormal abilities. So apparently they do. You know, one of my most trusted sources is the head of international hominology, Dr. Igor Burtsev, who's also works in the Department of Evolutionary Science in Moscow, Russia. And he's been out in the field since 1965. And when I pinned him down on my show and said, "So what's the deal, Dr. Burtsev? How come it's so hard to get a picture of these guys? Why is it so tough for somebody to capture them?" He said, "Well, because they have paranormal abilities that we don't understand yet." So think about that for a minute. This guy's actually been boots on the ground, field research in Bigfoot, working for a government since 1965. That's 2 years before the Patterson-Gimlin film was even shot. He thinks they have paranormal abilities.
Back then.
Yeah. 2 years before the Patterson Gimlin film was shot, he was out in the field doing field research. And he's the one that's saying, yeah, they have paranormal abilities. Well, he should frickin' know how many years he's been out there. You know, that's all he does. If he's not writing a book or doing a lecture, he's out in the field all the time.
And what's his name?
Dr. Igor Burtsev. He's the most accredited Bigfoot researcher and scientist in the subject on the planet. Not to be disparaging of our local guys, but the two of the good ones died already. Grover Krantz and Bindernagel, they're gone. And you know, Meldrum is really good at what he does, but how long has he been at it?
All right.
You know, Burtsev was out in the field doing Bigfoot research when you know, Meldrum was still shitting his diapers.
Dude, keep talking. I gotta find something.
Digger, yeah, I can answer that question.
Sorry, I forgot to plug my phone, my computer in.
Interpreted as
just went into like power saver mode.
Yeah, Digger, I think you're right, and that happens quite a bit because you hear people that are going like, "Well, there's an old haunted farm out here."
So I can't hear anything right now because I don't have my headphones in. But just give me 1 second.
He doesn't know I'm still talking. So how do you know that it's a haunted farm? Well, because we hear like screeches and roars, and ghostly sounds coming from the farm and stuff. Well, yeah, Bigfoot makes sounds like that. And, you know, if you don't know what it is you're listening to and you're hearing these weird howls and roars and strange noises and stuff coming from the old abandoned farm or the old abandoned barn or the old ghost town, or, you know, there's some old ruins out there. You hear this kind of stuff and you go, oh, no, it must be haunted. There's ghosts out there. Well, no, it's Bigfoot. The same thing happens out here in the West a lot, where you get these old abandoned gold mines and stuff. And everybody's like, oh, Bigfoot protects the gold in those mines. Don't go up there. Well, how do you know Bigfoot's there? Well, because we've seen his tracks and we hear him making noise. Okay, so they're a little bit slicker around here. They know there's Bigfoot. And they know what kind of noises he makes. And he's guarding the gold in the gold mine. Well, no, Bigfoot doesn't give a rat's patoot about the gold in the gold mine. Bigfoot likes the quartz. And where you find gold mines, you usually find quartz deposits. Or to reverse it, just about everywhere we find high concentrations of Bigfoot activity, we find high concentrations of quartz deposits.
What do you think their fascination with quartz is?
I think it has something to do with their some
frequency.
Of their abilities. Yeah, I know one researcher that's seen them actually eat quartz before, and several of them think that they use it for their little trick when they're fading out, when they want to cloak themselves. They can't like normally do that, and they have to have aids in order to do it. And it could be that eating the quartz has something to do with it. If you think about it, the old-fashioned radio, what was your tuner made out of? It was quartz.
Sure.
So different frequencies of quartz, you're getting different frequencies incoming. So their theory is that they collect the energy up off a ley line or something, and then they use the quartz to tune themselves to the right frequency so they can literally bend the light around them. And I don't know if it was Bigfoot or not, but we got a picture from about a month now. It was the end of June. I had one of my friends from Alaska here, and we were up at Coloma. And she had a feeling something was watching her and turned around and took a picture. And she got on the picture, there's one of them's head in the background peeking out from around a tree. But there's something right next to her bending the light. And when you draw the outline around it, you can see it perfect. It's just like, what the hell is that? Because it looks like on the one side, there's a blurrier blur, like an arm reaching toward her. And then there's the rest of this humanoid shape back behind it. And you can literally see where the deadfall on the ground is coming in from two angles, and it comes like that, like a V shape in the middle. Well, it wasn't like that. Those were straight logs that were laying on the ground. But that thing standing there right next to her is bending the light around it. So you can see it on the ground and everything around it. Very peculiar. And she took this picture with a cell phone. So there's no trickery involved. I was right there when she took it. She never saw anything in it anyway. I looked at it later and went, what the hell did you get a picture of? So you either cloaked Bigfoot or cloaked something.
So Tim Egan wants to know, do you think that Sasquatch sense our intentions, and to what degree?
Yeah, I think they can do that like any normal animal can. I mean, when I'm out in the woods, most deer don't usually run from me most of the time because they can sense that I'm not hunting for them. And, I haven't got that predatory behavior. And, Sasquatch being way smarter than some dumbass deer, obviously they would be able to tell just from looking at you. Well, you're not carrying a weapon. You're not showing any kind of aggressive behavior. You're not stalking. You're not necessarily trying to hide your presence or your scent. Blah blah blah. There's just a ton of cues. They're predators. They know what to look for. If you're not acting like a predator, they know you're not acting like a predator, and they know what weapons are. If you're not carrying a weapon, you're not any threat to them. And they'll get a hell of a lot closer if they know you haven't got a gun on you. Because what are you going to do? Spit on them or something? Yeah, they're not scared at all if you ain't got a gun.
Sure. Let's see.
And that gets them to come a lot closer. Most of the time when we're in the areas that I go do research in, there's so many of them up there. We just give it as a taken for granted that as soon as we show up, they know we're there. And they're pretty much watching us the whole frickin' time. Which is why a lot, what makes me laugh a lot is these people that are going to go, well, I'm going to go out in the woods into this one area where they've seen a lot of sign up and I'm going to set up a game cam. And then I'll trick them and they will walk past and I will get their picture on the game cam. Dude, while you're out there putting the game cam on the tree, what the hell do you think they're doing? They're standing there watching you put the game cam on the tree. Are you freaking serious? You think you're fooling that damn easy? And one of my researcher friends up in Northern Ontario sheepishly sent me a picture of this freaking Bigfoot standing across this little pond watching them. And I said, hey, isn't this place where you got these guys before? And he goes, yeah, I was trying to be sneaky and set up a game cam across the pond from them. Felt there was something watching me, turned around, snapped a picture, and there's one of them watching me put up the game cam. And I'm like, well, I told you.
That's funny.
But yeah, they've got sentinels for that stuff. As soon as somebody walks into an area of forest that they're in, they've got one of the youngsters over there watching your ass the whole time. If you start exhibiting peculiar behavior that they find objectionable or something they should report back to the rest of the troop, in short order, you'll have more than one of them following you around.
So, Boothard, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Sorry, buddy. Duke, you're convinced Bigfoot and Paranormal are you're convinced that Bigfoot and Paranormal are connected. Would that be always together, or do you believe it's possible to have one without the other?
I think everything is connected, but I don't think it's always this direct straight line connection. I don't think everything's connected 100% of the time. Let me give you an example. There have been sightings of Bigfoot around UFO sightings. There have even been sightings of Bigfoot, like getting tractor beamed down or beamed to the ground or something by people that have tried to make a connection. And, there's got to be a connection between Bigfoot and UFOs. And in my opinion, there is the same connection that's between UFOs and humans. They're going to come from umpteen miles to abduct humans and do experiments on them. Why wouldn't they do the same thing to Bigfoot? There's another intelligent species running around the planet. Might as well abduct them and do experiments on them too. Why would they be exempt? You know what I'm saying? So, there's a loose connection to everything. The greatest minds that I'm in connection with on the whole Bigfoot and paranormal thing informed me that, in their opinion, all of the Bigfoot have one paranormal ability. They can all mind speak. But that's it. So some of them can't do anything else. That's all they can do. Other ones can cloak. Other ones may be able to jump portals. There's a whole range of weird things that have been ascribed to them that could be considered paranormal. A lot of it can be covered by infrasound. Infrasound can do all sorts of weird things. And we've pretty much got that one sorted out that they probably do have it. They're big enough to generate. We've seen lots of examples of weird things in close proximity to them over and over and over and over again with researchers can easily be explained away as infrasound. Tigers have it. Elephants have it. Whales have it. All the bigger animals can generate it. So if you got a big intelligent animal, they would no doubt figure out different things they could do with it. And you can make people nauseous. You can confuse them. You could knock them out. You could cause somebody to have a heart attack.
Yeah, supposedly I heard they could actually kill you with it. Yeah.
And we've got people like Bigfoot anthropologists that are taking audio recordings that researchers have made. Oh yeah, and looking deeper into them and frequencies outside of the normal, and also gas and people talking and people walking around and stuff like that. And he always comes up with these clicks and pops in the background, and they're communicating with each other, and we don't catch it. It's like not at the right frequency for us to hear it or something, but we just generally don't catch that. But they're communicating with each other all the time, and they likely, in addition to having infrasound, may also have certain ability at ultrasound frequencies, because that's the frequency that all the little critters operate at. All the little mice and the bugs and all that sort of stuff, they're all hearing in that frequency. So if you blow a dog whistle, you don't hear it. But all those little critters sure do, and the dogs do. And it's pretty damn painful because it's really loud. They want you to stop it right away. So all Bigfoot has to do is come up and make a nice big whistle at an ultrasonic frequency. We won't hear it. Every other thing will, and they'll shut the hell up. And all of a sudden there's this deathly silence, and you're going, hey, what happened? Why is it so quiet?
That makes sense. Yeah. Because you hear that constantly.
Yeah.
There's always
I've had it happen to me a lot of times too. Generally, when we're in areas where there's like huge tree structures and stuff, that happens. You'll hear birds and critters and little bugs and stuff all over the areas nearby. As soon as you get over where those big structures are, dead silent.
So I guess you kind of answered Arizona Squatch's question. Have you ever heard them speak language?
I personally haven't heard it. I know lots of other people that have. They can, some of them can speak in English and stuff too. It's all depends on what they've learned.
Are you familiar with Arizona Squatch at all?
Most of them, actually, if you know. No, sorry, man. I can't keep up with everyone.
No,
it's not your fault.
No, Arizona Squatch is Kevin Keeney. He has a channel, Arizona Squatch, but he does a lot of research up on the Mogollon Rim, a few different locations. I went up and visited him a couple of months ago, up to one of his camps. Great people. Met some really interesting people. Future guest, Chuck Jacobs. He's with the BFRO. I know how you feel about them.
Basically fake research organization. Yeah.
But this guy's a little different. He's into it. He appreciates what's going on out there, and he's done a lot of research with Arizona Squatch, and they see some different things, more like the predator, that shimmering beings and shadows, and they have some interesting experiences out there. I'm probably going up. I meant to tell you, Kevin, next week, I'm probably going up for a couple days up to the rim, probably around same place I was last time. But yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to see if you were familiar with him. He's got a lot of good videos
he
out.
says in chat he's got 6,000 hours in the field in 3 years. That's a lot of hours in the field.
He was just there. Yeah, he was just there and forgot he had a doctor's appointment, had to go back home.
Yeah, that happened to me. Well, in 2015, I spent way too much time in the field. I was in the field 176 nights that year. So I don't know how many hours that adds up to, but that's, typical. The only time I was proud is when I had to come in to file a report for my show or something, and touch base quick on Facebook, grab more food, and then go back to camp.
Run back out.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, just find some place to upload.
Yeah, pretty much it. Run into town, upload, check Facebook, get food, go back to camp, quick before dark when they show up.
Treva asks, do more abilities equal higher status or more alpha?
I don't think so. From what my sources tell me, what we're actually dealing with here is like, let's compare it to humans. If you were sent on an expedition from aliens to come to Earth in 2020 and gather one human that's perfectly representative of all humans on Earth, who would you get? Kind of a problem, huh? Because you got choices. I mean, there's people that go up into space in space shuttles and stuff, and there's also people that run around in horse-drawn carriages. They're called Amish. Who's a good representative of a human? Which one do you pick? Here's a further extrapolation to that point, that basically the skills that they have available to them are the skills that their clan knows. It was like a martial arts style or something. If you don't have a master to train you, you're not going to learn.
Sure.
It's the same thing with their clans. Some of their clans are really advanced. They know all kinds of different paranormal tricks, apparently, and others don't know a damn thing. The only thing that all of them seem to be able to do is just mind speak, and that's it. So there's no hard and fast rule for that. I mean, if you're an alpha, everybody else in your clan theoretically would know the same abilities you do. So again, it's down to who's the smartest, strongest, baddest, not who's the trickiest, because they all have the same tricks. I don't think that's fair for them to use that in battles for dominance. I have no idea, but from what I've heard, that doesn't sound like it's something that would be done.
Kana, I'm not sure.
Yeah, good choice, Pappy.
Do you think befriending them is plausible with time?
Oh, absolutely. I know a bunch of people that have befriended them to one level or another. The only problem with that is that they're, the best example of that would be Kevin, who was lucky enough to run into a little bitty one, which is only his height, when he was like 14, 15 years old, and be able to hang around and be friends with it for 5 years. As they get older, they're more wise and circumspect, and they don't want to have that much to do with humans to start with. And the other thing is, I think Kevin rubbed off a lot on Glag, and he learned a lot of behaviors from Kevin that he wouldn't have had normally with his regular family.
Sure.
So it was easier for him to interact with a human. And the Bigfoot, I think, as they get larger and older, they begin to realize, the wisdom of let's not interact with humans. They can't be freaking trusted. Right?
We're no good.
Yeah. And, there's not that many people that are not going to have kind of a hostile negative reaction to seeing one of them. And so that isn't a very good basis to start out for relationship wise. And then the other thing is that if you do get them to trust you to a certain extent, they're going to question your motives. Why are you doing things? You have a goal here, obviously, because we have goals. If we're doing something, it's for a reason. We don't do anything for nothing. So what's your goal, right? And they always suspect we're trying to trick them and, get a picture of them or something. I had one psychic that was in communication with the Bigfoot say that they don't understand how a camera works, but they know the end result is a picture. And like the really primitive tribes back in the olden days used to think if you took a picture of them, you stole their soul.
Sure.
And apparently that's what they think. So it's not they're afraid we're going to show evidence of Bigfoot to the world. It's don't steal my soul. Get your stupid camera away from me.
So still crazy Chris wants to know, how long do you think they live?
According to the information I got, it's about the same as humans. If they're in a really good environment, they're getting really good food, they can live, 80, 90 years, maybe even longer. The ones that have a really rough time of it in a crappy environment, 45, 50. They're closely related to us. They're adjacent hominids. Melba Ketchum's DNA study pretty much proved that. And she's even completed it and gone one step further now and said they actually, the male side of all the DNA testing she's been doing, which is the unknown part of it, that's mixed with human DNA, is apparently something that branched off from us at least 15,000 years ago. So at one point, they were very, very closely related to us. But how close is close? I mean, Neanderthals inbreed with humans. There's still Neanderthal DNA in our genome.
Sure.
Denisovans have inbred with us. Who knows how many of the other adjacent hominids did the same thing back in the olden days when the world looked a lot more like Lord of the Rings than we would care to actually imagine. And there were all these other similar races to us running around, which were all Homo something or another. Homo heidelbergensis, Neanderthalensis, Denisovan, whatever. So they're all people, but they're not humans the way we're humans. Be another way to think of it.
Sure.
Professor Orange Juice, we've vetted this story to death. We've had other people that have seen Glag, people that have had encounters with them. There's absolutely no doubt that story is 100% real. And the government doesn't go and threaten people that are telling fake stories. And they threatened him at gunpoint twice.
And that is an incredible story. I mean, I admit I cried during, reading that story.
Well, when we brought him up here
I'm
to
not,
Kelowna,
I'm not ashamed to say that, dude.
most people did, me included. When we brought him up here to Kelowna, and Glag actually showed up with his family to meet Kevin again. Kevin wasn't the only one that got to see him. And I have another guest that hasn't even been on the show yet that actually had their life saved by Glag 2 years before Kevin even came on my show and told the story back in 2017. And they
That was a
contacted
woman,
Kevin.
right?
Yep. Contacted Kevin, told him about it. They had been thrown from their horse while they were out horseback riding. There was a forest fire going on. Horse panicked through them. They broke their ankle. And Glad came along and scooped them up and saved them. And this person was very surprised that this enormous Bigfoot could speak English. She had run into Bigfoot before, and them ones didn't speak no English. So this was quite a surprise, even though it wasn't really like great conversational English. He could still speak it and understand it. And he took her away from where the fire was and dunked her in a pond to get her wet, and then took her to the other end of a field where there was low grass and she wouldn't get burned, left her there where humans could find her and save her. And then he took off with his family. But she told the story to Kevin, and Kevin said, well, yeah, that sounds like something Glag would do. Did you see any markings on him? She said, oh, like the scar that he had on blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that was, there is a scar on Glag, and she described it exactly and exactly where it was. Okay. So there's another person. And I knew this person before I even met Kevin. I had already heard this story. I had no idea this was going to be the same Bigfoot.
Sure.
And then we have a third one that we haven't been able to vet as to which Bigfoot actually did it. But again, we're leaning because of the time and the location that it probably was Glag again, because this guy was in forestry and he was on the edge of a forest fire. He was in this big clearing and he was trying to get his truck turned around and get the hell out of there. And the smoke got so intense and inside the truck that he passed out, smoke inhalation. And when he woke up, he was laying inside of a wood line somewhere in the forest.
I remember that
story. Kind of
story.
staggered out and went, where the hell am I? And he could see there was a roadblock a little ways away with a couple more forestry vehicles. So he walked over there. And they said, where the hell have you been? We've been trying to call you. He said, I don't know. I passed out in my truck and I just woke up over here. And they said, well, where'd you leave your truck? And he told them, and they said, well, that's just up the road from here. Jump in my vehicle and we'll drive up there and see if your truck's still in one piece. The fire went through there. So they got up there, and sure enough, the truck was actually in pretty good shape. He had parked it it was still in the middle of a field that had low grass, so it hadn't burned the truck very much. The only thing that was wrong with the truck is that whoever had rescued him, either their fingers were too big to work a doorknob, or they didn't know how to open one exactly, because they peeled the roof off the truck like a sardine can. And that's what they found when they came up there. A truck with a little bit of fire damage around the base of it, and the roof peeled off like a sardine can.
That's crazy. Do you think the government lies about them because they know they're a human hybrid, or not just another run-of-the-mill primate?
Yes.
And are not just another run-of-the-mill primate?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
That's one of the reasons. I mean, think about it. If you want to just make a human disappear and use them for medical experiments, questions are going to be asked. They have relatives. There'll be problems. But if you want to go grab some Bigfoot out of the woods that people don't even think exists and use them for medical experiments, who's going to know or say anything about it?
True.
And boy, wouldn't it be fun to have those things for military weapons, huh?
Hilton wants to know, why do Americans call it horseback riding and not just horse riding like the rest of the English-speaking world? I mean, where else would you ride it?
Well, there's some pretty bad perverts in some of these other countries, and they don't just stick with the back, and that's why we differentiate.
You had to ask, didn't you, Hilton?
Ask a silly question, get a smart-ass answer. There you go.
Right. You can answer.
It has to do with the animal-loving crowd and us differentiating ourselves from them.
Let's see what else. Want to see some more questions out there, guys?
Ouch, Chris.
Those belly saddles.
Now, talking more about somebody trying to mount the horse like from behind instead of on top. But yeah, you guys are kind of getting it.
Hetty, nice to see you. Welcome. What else? So when's your next outing or expedition?
Oh, I was supposed to be going out this weekend, but with my car but the crap truck condition, I don't know. Actually, we're kind of bummed out because one of the celebrity squatchers that was supposed to be here now can't make it because his cousin just died, and they've got a funeral for him this weekend, so he isn't going to be able to show up for it. So we're trying to schedule another one for later on this summer, early fall, and get him out here. And you guys all know who I'm talking about. It's Barry Webster from Res Squatching. And he wants to bring like half his team out here with him and probably get Rich Soul to show up again too. So we'll have a good sized crowd out here when they get here.
Nice. And he's bringing his whole Res Squatcher team down?
Yeah, he wants to bring his brother Derek and Fat Boy and bring the whole team out here. I told him if you bring Fat Boy with, you better put a trailer on the back of your car and bring a refrigerator for him because I ain't going to feed him. That's like trying to feed 2 Bigfoots. No, they're all awesome. I can't hardly wait to meet those guys. I hope they all manage to show up.
So what is your most intense personal experience you haven't aired on your show?
I pretty much talked about all my Bigfoot experiences on the show. I've had lots of one of the things we like to do when we're sitting around the campfire is talk about, weird things that have happened to you. And one of the subjects that we sometimes get on is times that you should have died. When you should have been killed by a situation you were in and somehow mysteriously you're not dead. And I usually win that one. Everybody runs out of stories. We go around the circle, tell one story until they run out of stories. And then I keep going for quite a while. And the longest we went so far as somebody actually counting was 22. So there's lots of examples of I should not be alive right now. I'll give you a good one. Scuba diving in a cave and found a chute that went from the back of the cave up to the surface. You could see the sunlight, but you couldn't fit through it with your scuba tanks. And I wasn't going to leave my scuba tanks in the cave. So I went back to the surface and left them there and went, I'll just free dive down the 30 feet to the entrance to the cave, swim to the back of the cave, and then come up the chute to the surface. Ta-da, pop out on the surface. Which is all great until you're trying to squeeze your way through it, running out of air, and you get wedged in it. And then you realize if you try and back out, you don't have enough air to go back out of the cave and make to the surface again. So you've got to go forward, even though you're wedged in there. And the people up on the surface have been breaking glass bottles in this fucking thing for years. So the whole bottom of it's full of broken glass. And as you're trying to squeeze through from this wedged position, you're cutting the living hell out of yourself. But it's either that or drowned. So there's one example of the 22 that I could bring to the table of what's one of my scary experiences. See, this is why I don't scare easy, guys.
Wow.
So clinging to the side of a cliff, clinging to the side of a cliff 80 feet up with my fingers and toes wedged in a crack while there was a downpour going over. And I had to cling there for over a half an hour before the storm let up so that I could climb either up or down to get away from this position. And it was coming down. I was like in a chute. So it was coming down like a waterfall on my head. I had to duck my head forward as close as I could to my chest so I could breathe because it was like literally suffocating me.
And plus, still hold on at the same time.
Like this, into this crack, holding yourself in a position. How long can you hold that? There's 2.
So Pappy wants to know, Duke, your best guess. Are the big guys getting much more numerous? What's the reason?
I think there actually are more of them around. I think they sort of hit a low point back when the second settlement in North America happened and all of the diseases went around and wiped out a lot of the natives. The natives at that time usually had at least one guy in their tribe that was actually trading with the local Bigfoot, especially over here on the western side of the country. And at that point, they would have been also infecting the Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot, I think, got the idea that like being around humans is bad. Look at their keeling over dead. They got something going on over there. Let's stay away from them. This is dangerous. When we get trade goods from them, we get sick too. So at that point, it seems like after that, there isn't really any record even of these shaman type guys that they had appointed to do this job to interact with and even doing it anymore. So I think that was kind of the end of it right there. But it wasn't like that all over the country. There was, like, in the Northeast, they never really had friendly relations with the Bigfoot up there. That's where all the Wendigo and Janosko legends come from. They're fighting with the damn things. They're having wars with them. And then you go over to the Pacific Northwest, and you got them like, there's a couple tribes where, if a squaw wanted to go marry a Sasquatch husband, that was okay. So it was completely 180 degrees different than it was on the other side of the country.
What's the difference between Dogman and Bigfoot other than the obvious looks?
Same difference as between Fido the dog and a gorilla.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured.
Not related in any way at all.
What else?
Nessie, no, I have not. Or if I have, I didn't notice it. Although one of the videos that I got for the Coloma video that I'm putting together, I was just looking at the other day, and it's got a long-range shot where I'm panning down a valley. And you know how like an aspen tree looks when the wind is blowing and it's flickering a little bit? Well, there was something on camera doing that, but there was no damn tree there. So I've got to go back and slow that down and crop it and take a look at it, because it could be an absolutely immense Bigfoot cloaked off in the background in that picture. I'm not sure, but there's nothing else there's any air moving anywhere else. So I don't know what's doing it.
So Brad 4C wants to know, why do you think they stack rocks and make different tree structures, X's, etc.?
The rock stack thing, we don't know exactly what they're doing with that. There's probably somebody out there that knows, and I haven't heard anything from them. The tree structures, we've been vetting those for about 10 years now, and we figured out what most of them mean. And a lot of them are just trail markers. They'll make huge tangles of structures that are just, I don't think they really have any meaning. It's like their version of a piece of art or something. They'll take all of these little trees that are between like 2 and 4 inches in diameter, rip them out of the ground, and they'll make like a jungle gym out of them. And it may go through the woods for 200 yards. It's just freaking impassable. And it's not natural. And you're going, what in the hell are they doing this for? Sometimes they'll knock down a lot of timber just to discourage you from going in, because they've got a huge tree structure in the middle of it. We find that a lot. Why is there so much timber lying here and right next to it there isn't any? And you don't want to wade through this crap that's like crotch high. How long are you going to put up with that for no damn reason? So you aren't going to go in there usually. Well, we found 2 things. First of all, in areas like this, oftentimes there is an enormous structure out the middle of it, far enough in that you can't see it from the edge of it. You have to actually wade through a bunch of this timber tangle to get close enough to see it. And the other thing is that they run this timber that's lying on the ground. They use it like walkways. That's why they're not leaving any tracks in there. And where you look for tracks, you look at areas where the timber doesn't extend right to another piece, and they have to step on the ground to get up on the next piece of timber. And that's where you find tracks. And that's one of our best areas for finding tracks. We went into one area like that. Me and Mike were in there for under 2 hours. We found tracks from 15 different individuals in under 2 hours.
Wow. Nessie wants to know, have you ever seen a Squatch doing a predator-style cloaking in person?
Yeah, like I said, other than this video that I just referenced, I haven't seen it in person. But see, the thing is, if they're actually cloaking, you can't see them. They're invisible. You may be able to pick it up on a camera and get the light bending around it thing. But they have, it isn't just like all or nothing. They can go blurry. They can make parts of them be cloaked and parts of them not cloaked, which is really freaking disconcerting when all of a sudden an arm and a hand pops out of thin air and then disappears again. Some people think they're like around the veil or something. No, they're just cloaked. They can part of themselves visible and part of them not. I know somebody that has them around their property all the time, and they observe them doing this stuff. They'll see like a torso walking by the window and go, "What that? I'm never going to get used to seeing that."
So Trayvon wants to know, do you think the Little Forest people and Sasquatch interact? Sorry.
There is one. The natives will probably tell you yes. There's one story of that where there was a native hunting party and they were out. I don't remember if they were looking for elk or what, but it was out in this part of the country. And all the older guys were all sound asleep snoring. And one of the younger guys woke up because he kept hearing talking. He couldn't figure out where it was coming from. So he crept out into the moonlight and snuck away from camp following the sound of the voices. There was 2 little ones, one really big, deep one. And finally he crawled up over this little rise, and there was this little glade down below him in the moonlight. He could see there was a dead elk down there. Standing on one side of it, there was a Bigfoot, and on the other side of it, there's two of the Narumbi, the local little people that are about 18 inches tall. And apparently they were having an argument over the elk and who was going to get it, which you would think would be academic. But from the standpoint of the natives out here, it pretty much was, and not the way you guys would think it would turn out. The Bigfoot harump turned around and left. The two little people got the elk. One of the little people turned and started to walk away. The other little person threw the elk's head over his shoulder and proceeded to drag the carcass off by himself. This is why the natives don't mess around with the little people. And the Bigfoot probably don't mess around with them either, because they may be little, but they're stronger than shit, and they got super speed, and they work in teams.
Albert Trent Jr. wants to know, do you think that they have a shedding time like most animals, like in the fall? Or
I think it's entirely possible. It's entirely possible, yeah, because we found examples of really big chunks of hair and stuff that they lose in the spring, definitely, especially in some like northern Minnesota and stuff. Several people have found, they're looking at it going, what the hell, were there horses out here or something? Because what has hair like this? This is like a foot and a half long. It's probably what has hair like this, and they couldn't figure it out. And the little single strand samples matched up perfectly with some of the close up looks that they've taken at other Bigfoot hair samples.
So Real Dill has got a good question, because I've actually thought about this myself before. Did Sasquatch teach the American Indians to make a teepee, or vice versa?
Yeah, which come first, the chicken or the egg? It's interesting that a lot of the Native American trail marking methodology that they use is pretty much identical to what the Bigfoot used. So really the question is who learned it from who? Did they show up and start seeing stuff the Bigfoot were doing and start mimicking it? Or was the Bigfoot mimicking stuff they were doing? Or was it going both ways? See, you don't know. But some of some of it's almost freaking identical. And I think it may be possible that the rock trail marking stuff could be almost identical to what the local natives in the area were doing too. At one point they were actually, like in some areas, they were friendly. So it just kind of makes sense that they would understand what each other's trail blazes and stuff mean. Like, the Bigfoot hunt in certain areas and they don't want the natives in there. And, they'll leave the natives to hunt in their areas and they won't go in there. So it behooves them to know what the markings are from the other guys. Oh, this leaner and this X over here means this is their territory. Don't go in there. They'll get pissed off. Right. And vice versa. They see where the humans are hunting and stuff. Well, they're down in this valley all the time. Don't go down there. That's where the humans hunt. That's their deer. I even got a report. This is like really peripheral and weird, but I was talking to one of my friends over in Oregon, and she takes care of elderly people, hospice. And one of her elderly patients had also an elderly friend that was visiting him, who was a great-great-grandson of a tribe of Indians from Northern California. And forgive me, I can't think of the name of the tribe right now. But he was talking about when his great-great-grandfather was the chief of the tribe, they had a problem with them where some of the braves had gone up higher in the mountains than they usually do. And they found this area with really plentiful amounts of game, really big, great hunting spot. They started hunting up there, which apparently pissed off the Bigfoot really bad and caused basically a war to break out between them, which went on for a while. The Bigfoot killed a bunch of humans. And then finally they got to actually parlay with them. And Bigfoot basically said, well, you stay the hell out of our upper valleys and we'll stay out of your lower ones, and we won't have problems with each other anymore. You leave our game alone. We'll leave your game alone. And this is kind of sad because the guy that was telling me this story has always been fascinated by Bigfoot, and he always wanted to go do research on him. But according to the treaty that they made with the local Bigfoot, you can't go in their territory. Can't do it. So how are you going to go? Yeah. So it's been like stymieing him his whole life. He'd be an active Bigfoot researcher, but I can't go in their territory. It's it's against our customs because we made a treaty with them a few generations ago and said we're not going to do it. We don't want war breaking out again.
Sure. Do you think it is an ability to cloak, or is it the hair that absorbs and puts out the color of surrounding terrain? I saw the hollow hair follicle.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's both. I know a number of people that have Bigfoot hair samples, and every time we talk about it, if they haven't already tried it, I have them go do the color test. Take it and put it up next to a good, light source, and put anything with a bright color next to it, and see what what the hair looks like, and it takes on the color of whatever's next to it. So that's one of their natural defenses. They use it to break up their outline, because a part of them that's in sunlight next to some object is going to take on the color. If it's next to a green leaves, it'll look green. If it's next to a gray tree trunk, it'll look gray. And that's enough to break up their outline enough that we won't register it as the outline of something that we recognize. As far as that goes, we don't really have that as part of our brain pattern anyway. I mean, we don't look for Bigfoot-shaped things in the woods because most people don't think they exist, and they don't know what they look like, so they don't know what the hell to look for, right? So we haven't got that pattern into our brain. Like if you see a deer going through the woods, your brain picks it out right away and goes, hey, what's that moving over there? Oh, it's a deer. I know what a deer is. I've seen a deer before. I recognize what a deer is. But you see one of these things moving around the woods, your brain just struggles and goes, what the hell is that? Is that a furry horse? Is that a bear? And part of the time you see them, they ain't walking around on two legs all the time. They can go just as good on all fours.
Sure.
So I think a lot of people that see them, just because they see them on all fours, they can blow it off and convince themselves it was just a bear because it was on all fours. It was just some weird looking bear. That's all it was.
And it happens all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's constant.
All right. Trevor.
Yeah.
West G out of Kentucky.
We vetted that show. Go ahead, read it.
He met a woman that babysat the Bigfoot babies. I think of this often. Do you know the story, and do you think it's real?
Yes, I know the story, and I vetted it with two other people that actually have had long-term interaction with Bigfoot. Kevin Lang was one of them, as a matter of fact. And they both said, yeah, this sounds like it's real to me. The only thing that threw them was the part where the aliens were picking them up when they were got to be teenagers or something.
The Star People. Yeah,
that was the only part of it.
I remember that show.
I don't know what the hell they're talking about with that. But the rest of it all rang true from their perspective.
Yeah, I that show sticks with me a lot. I think about that one. It was pretty interesting. I've listened to it twice. That's when the guy's on the motorcycle originally and meets that old woman and goes back to the house.
Yeah, and the house is all stinky and
there's
holes going on here.
And two little ones come downstairs and hide behind her little apron, and
two little ones that are only 6 feet tall, teeny tiny little Bigfoot. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, so cute.
And then he starts getting a stiffy for the female Bigfoot and being all pervy and stuff. That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. Oh, shit. That was a good show, though.
Yep. Yeah, Wes has had some pretty amazing guests on the show.
Yeah, he has.
Some of them have some really good information. Other ones are, Well, so saw a Bigfoot run across the road. Really, that's very interesting. Please continue.
That's it.
Well, there's only so much you can do with an encounter like that, and Wes always seems to be able to do something with it, so he does pretty good.
Albert wants to know what's the opinion. I guess it would be what's your opinion on the Carter family Bigfoot story?
Well, I've actually had Jen on my show before. There is definitely some Bigfoot stuff going on there. There's no doubt about that in my mind. There's other people that have investigated, including Dr. Igor Burtsev, who was on the scene before anybody was paying any damn attention to her. And one of the things they did was they had one of them that liked to sneak down into the basement. They left him some food down there, and Igor went with a shovel or something. No, he took ash, I think, from a campfire and scattered it all over the whole basement. And then the next day they came and checked it, and sure enough, there was Bigfoot tracks all over it, where he had gone down there to get the food and left tracks in it. So, yeah, there's definitely stuff going on there.
And that's been going on for a long time, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, according to Jan, it started, it was going on before she was even born.
Yeah,
she was introduced to him by her dad when she was 4 or something. And, that kind of stuff happens. There's people that are habituating these things that over the long term. I heard of a family down in the South that are actually, one of them's a famous musician, and they've had this group of Bigfoot that they've been feeding every day for 3 generations.
Wow.
Go get them food, feed them every day. And apparently these Bigfoot are now addicted to McDonald's burgers because that's what they've been getting and feeding them every day for like 3 freaking generations. And it's a good thing they got plenty of money because that would get expensive to be feeding these guys every damn day.
Well, think one would. How many burgers could one eat? Shit.
Yeah, exactly. How many burgers
Here's your
can an alpha male
here's
eat?
your stack, and
yeah. I don't think they're feeding them until they're full. It's just like, here's your snack for today. You
Yeah.
get X number of burgers.
Just to appease them at this point, Jesus.
Yeah, well, after that long, you're in trouble now. You got to keep
feeding
them.
Yeah,
they're going on for generations. They're going to be super pissed if you try and quit. You better have minions to keep the area safe long after you're dead. And then buy everybody nearby's houses out and move them safely away before you die. So nothing bad happens.
Jeez. Let's see what Chris has to say. Fox. Scott Carpenter got a picture on Fox in the ditch. And one of the Bigfoot had sex with a neighbor down the street. She was walking home.
Yeah, there's that story that he grabbed that one of the young Bigfoot grabbed that teenage girl and raped her. And then she ended up having a hybrid baby and being put in an insane asylum or something. I don't know if anybody's ever been able to vet that story. I don't think they have been. But yeah, Scott was down there and then he got pictures and stuff too. So again, like I said, their stuff was going on there. How exacting all the details on it and stuff are, I don't know. But stuff was definitely going on there because other independent researchers went there and vetted it. And yeah, stuff was going on.
Duke, what's the best government cover-up story you have ever heard?
What do you mean, like best, stinkiest?
I don't know.
I've heard lots of government cover-up stories. I've been involved in some of them where they're trying to. I've had numerous guests on my show threatened. Government cover-ups are going on all the frickin' time. Most of the time, the Bigfoot researchers won't talk about it because they don't want to get killed.
Sure, there's that.
But yeah, they get threatened. They have all kinds of bad things happen to them. Things mysteriously break down. Suddenly their accounts don't work anymore. Their loans that they had don't come in. They're not getting the money that they're supposed to be getting. There's just tons of ways
you hear a lot about that
people.
too.
And that's not even counting the ones where they have, somebody set up on the side of the road to attack you when you go by. Or the goon squad shows up and points guns at your face and orders you to blah, blah, blah. Don't do any more research or go on this show or blah, blah,
just
whatever.
Keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, keep your mouth shut. This shit goes on all the time, people.
Bama says, Duke, I've seen them fluff their hair out like a cat, and it does add to the blur. Not saying they don't cloak. They have tricks that break down the solid silhouette.
Yeah, she's absolutely right. They can do that. They can make their hair stand on end just like a cat. And that makes them look like a bigger fluff ball, which is handy if you want to sit underneath a tree in a shadow and be a shadow. Because then you don't have much of it, But again, it's like their outline is human-ish, but it's not human. So they got lots of ways they can break up their outline. I got a picture that somebody took where he's got half a dozen, red hula hoops in the background. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. And I'm looking at him going, there's nothing there, dude. And like 15 feet away from him, there's one leaning against a tree, blending in with the tree. He ain't got no hula hoop around that one. He didn't see it at all. That's the obvious one that actually is there. Like a third of the distance away from him, where the other ones he thinks might be there were actually at. And this thing's just laying back against the tree. He's got his arm out against the branch. So he looks just like he's part of the tree. And if you look at it close, you can see his eyes. You can see his mouth. You can see his brow ridge. You can see the top of his head. You can see the whole damn thing. You just got to look. There's a little blur there. See? Where he's doing his light bending trick. Everything else in that picture is in focus except for that one spot. That's what you need to look for in these pictures and stuff. Look, everything else can be in focus, but the one area that isn't in focus, that's where one of them's cloaked.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Bomber, you got to save some of that pink Himalayan salt for them Yetis. They like it. The pink Yetis especially.
Real wants to know, what do you guys think of the LBL slaughters? That was Dogman.
I had one of my guests actually got very interested in that, and managed to contact one of the law enforcement that were involved. And the law enforcement in question was actually there when I can't remember if they had National Guard or some military, came in and neutralized the issue. And they were sitting in the command tent where they had the radios. They could hear all kinds of shots being fired up in the woods, like about 200 frickin' rounds, according to what he was saying. And it was going on for a while, and there was all kinds of roaring and yelling and machine gunning. And then they called him and said, have you contacted hostile? They said affirmative, hostile contacted. Is hostile a bear? Negative, hostile is not a bear. Is hostile a mountain lion? Negative, hostile is not a mountain lion. The third question they asked him, is hostile a known animal? Negative, not a known animal. Repeat, negative, not a known animal. Now, this guy got to actually see them winch this thing up from the deeper hollow it was in. They threw it in one of the, what do you want to, I can't remember what you call them exactly. Kind of like a net, rope net.
Okay.
And then they had a deuce and a half, and they winched him up the cliff in this thing. And the guy got to actually see the corpse when they hauled it up there, shot up as it was. But it was about 8 feet tall, didn't have a tail, didn't have hocks like a dog, had like little nubbins on its forehead, double ears, double rows of teeth, claws. It's a gugly. It wasn't a freaking Dogman or a Bigfoot. Which makes sense because they found that one kid's body up in the tree. Well, Dogman aren't arboreal.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, supposedly the daughter, I think, was found up the tree.
Yep. Yipper. So the rumor is here that the local Bigfoot, Dogman, whatever, in the area, if they get thrown out of their troop for being bad, like equivalent of being thrown in jail for being a criminal, they tend to congregate in the LBL. So there's, basically criminal Bigfoot and criminal Dogman are what's hanging out in the LBL. So a good reason to avoid it.
Good advice. Bell, thank you for posting Duke's channel, World Bigfoot Radio.
Yeah, thanks, Bell. Pay attention, you guys. I'm going to actually have a new field research video out hopefully this week before I have to go this weekend and get out in the field. And that's going to be about the Coloma trip that we did in conjunction with Paranormal Portal channel last month on the 10th, 11th, and 12th. And this will be our side of the whole experience of all the stuff that we saw and video we shot and whatnot. And including a few other extras. I'll put in the picture that Sunny got of the cloaked whatever the hell it was that was right next to her. And that was a couple weeks before we were up there.
I don't see any more questions at the moment. All right, what is this? Have you seen this Almasty 2015 jumping Sasquatch video? Almasty 2015 jumping Sasquatch is better than almost all videos in my opinion. What is Duke's opinion on it? I don't know if you've seen it.
Almasty's a Russian Bigfoot. I'm not sure which video you're referencing, kind of.
Oh, I think I know what they're talking about. I think it's the old guy with like the grandson or something, and they see it in the woods at a distance, and it's kind of like jumping through the woods. I've seen that one.
Yeah, there's several legit ones that have come out of that whole area, Russia, the Urals around it and stuff. The guy for that is Igor. Because
let's roll up.
So usually I can just get a hold of him and say, did you check this one out? And then he'll give me a blow-by-blow on it. Oh, yeah, I already contacted him and interviewed so-and-so and looked.
Oh, boy. I didn't do it. I swear. It kind of disappeared on me there for a second.
Yeah, having some streaming issues.
Brad wants to know what happened to that 15-year-old kid that was found dead about a year ago by by an unknown or killed by an unknown canine. I'm guessing that what he's asking.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't recognize.
I don't pay any attention to Dogman stuff for the most part because from what I've been able to ascertain, we don't have any of them around here, so I don't have to worry about it. So I don't pay attention to it. I'm just more curious about what's actually around the area where I'm.
So Brill says thanks. She thought it was a Dogman, but you said it was a Gugwe. So
yeah, I thought it was a Dogman for a hell of a long time too. One of my friends contacted me and said he had actually talked to this guy. And from the description, he said, dude, that wasn't a Dogman. That was a Gugwe. And I went, oh, crap. Well, no wonder it was so freaking aggressive and violent. There's those Gugwe things again. Micmac Confederation of Indian tribes, the Penobscot and the Passamaquoddy are the ones that named that critter originally. What do I think about Bigfoot Tony's video photo analysis? I don't have a good punchline for that. I totally agree with Thinker Thunker that I disagree with every single thing he's ever said and put out. He's a complete fraud and he doesn't know his ass from a hole in the ground. Next question.
That should answer the question. What percentage of 411 cases are Bigfoot, or do you think are Bigfoot?
Well, that's a $64,000 question right there.
Sure.
I know there's some other channels that are making a lot of hay out of that right now and are about to, drop the hammer on the chamber that says Bigfoot is killing everybody. And they're wrong. Because for the most part, Bigfoot are actually really freaking neutral. They're not really hostile at all. And as many of them as we've apparently got all over the continent, if they were really hostile and hunting humans, we'd have a hell of a lot more missing humans than what we got right now. And we do have a considerable number of missing humans, but it would be a lot more. Look at how many encounters you hear where, oh, the Bigfoot scared me away and he roared at me and he threw things at me. And like, yeah, they do all kinds of crazy shit, but how often do they actually attack somebody? That's pretty damn rare. So no, there's other things that are going on here. And me and Kat Hansen did a show on that. And I've talked to several of my other guests about it before. And we actually did a show where we talked about prime suspects other than Bigfoot. And there's a bunch of them. There's other things out in the woods besides Bigfoot. Let's quit blaming Bigfoot for every damn thing that's happening out there. There's cultists with supernatural powers that can summon demons and shit too. They don't need Bigfoot to make somebody freaking disappear into thin air.
Sure. Have you found any evidence of mountain giants in any of your Sasquatch research areas?
Yes, we found a 23-inch troll track or mountain giant track about 2 miles from the ghost town of Coloma. Mike found that last year.
Wow.
Got pictures of it.
Zabista 7 shoots a Gugwe.
Yes, and if you guys want to know more about Gugwees, go check out the video on my channel, Wendigo, Janosko, and Gugwe, and you will know about them and what the difference is.
Right on.
And if you can't find it on YouTube, it's also on my channels on Library, Bright Eon, and BitChute. As a matter of fact, on Bright Eon right now, I think I got old Styx Hexenhammer beat. I did a term search in there, and Bright Eon's a small platform. And Styx has got like 200 million views across all platforms, so he's got me wiped out by a long shot. But I typed in the search term Wendigo, and 17 videos came up. And poor Styx's video was in last place with only like 17 views, and mine had like 380. So I went, woohoo, finally a platform where I can beat Styx.
So Hilton's asking, has anyone asked about your opinion on the Mark experience? I guess
Mark Barton Trail to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I know one of my friends has had run-ins with the same creatures in 2017. And they just recently got contacted by somebody else that's apparently currently having problems with these freaking things. They're not Bigfoot. They're flesh and blood critters. They're hyperdimensional invaders from beyond the veil. And they have more powers than Bigfoot. If they have Bigfoot working for them, it's probably not willingly.
Now, do you think I was led to believe on that show that Mark was leading to the fact that they're probably demons because he quoted the Bible twice saying, heaven, earth, and under the earth. And they said they were from under the earth. So
yeah, well, everybody always likes to jump to that conclusion because it's a nice, easy, comfortable one. And eliminates the need for you to actually do any further research.
Sure.
But that's crap. Demons are disembodied beings. They do not have bodies. Demons are the spirits left over after the Nephilim got killed. They can't go to heaven. They can't go to hell. They're stuck here. And if you're puny and weak-minded, they'll take over your body and use it like a flesh car to drive around in until they run it out of gas and you're dead. Then they'll go find another one. That's what they do. They don't have a physical body. These things aren't demons, and they're not from here. They're from the other side of the veil. That's where they live, flesh and blood critters. But they have paranormal abilities. And apparently after somebody invites them to come into our realm, they can invite more of their friends along. And that's how a bunch of them got here. And there's been some paranormal people trying to get rid of these bastards for quite a few years now. And, somebody keeps letting them in. So, hey, guy that's letting them in, knock it off.
Yeah, really.
Those aren't Bigfoot.
Quit being a dick.
Yeah, they're extremely dangerous. They play up that they have more powers than they actually do. I had this psychic researcher investigate the whole thing with Mark, and they lied to him. They told him they killed Tim Fasano. That's a flat freaking lie. They didn't have anything to do with it. They're just trying to terrify him. If they were as powerful as they said they were, they'd just go right into his house and kill him. They can't cross the threshold. They don't have permission. It's like a vampire thing. You have to give them permission or they can't come in. So they're trying to terrorize him, claiming they're more powerful than they are. But they are powerful. They can kill him. If he goes back into the green swamp again, he's really asking for it. Now, apparently, they had 3 subservient Bigfoot with them when they were there. 2 of them that they had basically browbeaten and controlled, and one of them they had stole from its troop when it was just a baby. And those ones didn't have really anything to do with the situation with these other predator things. But when he talked about the campfire popping, and all of a sudden he heard this voice in his head saying, run.
Run, yeah.
There were 2 female Bigfoot there that weren't even part of this whole thing. That were watching the situation. One of them made that campfire pop, and the other one gave him the mind speak and said, run like hell. So, no, he's putting the blame in the wrong freaking place. This hasn't got anything to do with Bigfoot. Bigfoot can be controlled just like anything else can be controlled, and these things can control things. They've got paranormal abilities.
Right on. Albert wants to know, do you think cologne and perfume can trigger aggression or an attack?
It's certainly possible because their sense of smell is way better than ours is. And if they find some kind of a scent to be offensive or something, they're going to react to it. We don't know exactly what pheromones or anything that they have. So, how would we know if there was an analog to something like that was in one of these preparations that humans are smearing on themselves? The other thing that's come up a bunch is noise. They get really pissed off sometimes about certain things going on, noisy, people making too much of a racket out in the woods. They react badly to it. The Bigfoot outlaws will tell you don't play Led Zeppelin when you're out squatching. They'll throw a tree at your car or something, So that does come up a lot, where people are out in the woods making too much racket, and the local Bigfoot get really ticked off about it.
411 suspect show. It's David Paulides, Professor Orange Juice. What is that? The Can-Am project that they have over there?
Yep.
If you check that out, David Paulides Can-Am project, the 411.
He's got a missing 411 movie out too, so there's something else you can go look for. He just covers all the missing person cases from parks and whatnot that look extremely suspicious.
Yeah, apparently I live in one of those. I live in one of those clusters.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. He points out clusters and stuff. It's interesting when you do overlay maps. The clusters do appear to correspond to where there's areas of heavy Bigfoot sightings. So does that mean that Bigfoot's doing it? Well, these also correspond to areas where there's big undergrounds. Okay. So there's a big underground there. Does that mean something in the big underground is doing it? That's just as theoretical as that Bigfoot's doing it, because there's a cluster of Bigfoot sightings there. Why is there a cluster of Bigfoot sightings there? Is there a cluster of Bigfoot sightings there because there's just a lot of food source there? Are they traveling through the area? Or maybe there's a portal there and they're going in and out of it, and there's lots of other things going in and out of it. You don't know. So, there's no definite connection just because there seems to be some kind of more minor correlation there. You can
I might have read this wrong.
Other things. and put them up, and it'll point in that direction too.
Professor Orange Juice, I might have read that wrong. Do you know the title of 411 Suspects? Because then you said no. Oh, you said you had a show with Kat. So maybe he wants to know.
Kat's been on my show lots of times. Just go back and look at my catalog. She's probably been on the show like 5-6 times at least.
All right. What else?
Yeah, just to be clear here, a lot of the aliens, quote unquote, that people assume are coming from some other planet, I don't think they are.
Dimensions?
I think they're hyper-terrestrials, and they're coming from right here at a different vibrational frequency. Possibility of crossbreeding amongst kinds of Squatch does not appear to happen because there are distinct variations and sub-varieties that are within fairly close range of each other. Kuhnbo and Bear have talked about this before. The type 1s and the type 2s. Well, they'll find a clan of one type and a clan of another type 5 or 10 miles away. They apparently don't interbreed.
Wonder Woman, Kathy. Are some people never mean to Bigfoot or mean to see Bigfoot?
Meant to see Bigfoot?
Maybe meant to see Bigfoot. Sorry, Kathy.
As far as the Bigfoot are concerned, nobody's meant to see them.
Sure.
We aren't supposed to see them. And they seem to be of the opinion that we're never going to be able to prove they're real and get everybody else to go along with it until such a point as they want it to happen.
And they'd be better off not wanting it to happen.
Well, for them, yeah. I mean, until it gets to the point where it benefits them for it to happen, I don't really see it happening. Because, look, you got them trying to hide from us, and at the same time, you got the government trying to cover it up. So, like, we're not freaking miracle workers, okay? There's only so much we can do to gather evidence and deliver it to the people. And on the one end, we're being fucked with to not deliver any evidence, not talk. And on the other end, the Bigfoot don't want their freaking picture taken. So what do you want us to do?
Yeah, it's a dilemma.
That's why I ceased to care a long time ago about whether people believe Bigfoot is real or not. Because they can come to that conclusion at some point in the future after we already have cataloged everything about them, how they do things, and what their abilities are. That's what I'm interested in. I already know they're real. I don't give a crap how many other people believe it. That's up to them to figure out.
Sure.
I'm not going to waste my life sitting around going, well, I'm going to twiddle my thumbs and wait until they finally prove Bigfoot's real so I can go do some research on them. No, not happening. I've been doing research on them 40 years. I'm going to keep doing research on them until I keel over dead. Hopefully by then I'll have some of the answers and I'll be able to give them to you guys, you know. Well, that's what I'm trying to do right now. So.
No, and I do appreciate you being here. I really wanted to get you on when I first had this concept of this show. I wanted to bring you on.
You're right, Pappy, and that's part of the problem because look at the average human sees a Bigfoot and the Bigfoot just like waves its arm over its head like this. And the human's like, oh my God, an aggressive Bigfoot. It's waving its arms at me. It's going to attack. Where's my gun? And they're freaking the hell out. And you probably even heard some of this a few times on Sasquatch Chronicles where Wes will have somebody on there who was all terrified of their encounter and he'll basically have to talk them down from it and go, well, you know, he could have grabbed you and killed you if he would have really wanted to. Maybe he didn't really want to, you know, and that's the problem. People don't know these things exist. So when they see one, it's such a huge shock to them. And unless they've already heard a lot about this or something, their default isn't to think it's Bigfoot. They think it's some kind of freaking monster. Well, when you do with a monster, you shoot at it. You know, so there's the problem right there. And Bigfoot, every time they go, hey, human, and wave at you, somebody takes a shot at them. Well, they're not going to want to do that very often, right?
No. And you do hear a lot of stories like that. Let's see.
Thanks, Big Rob.
And this is true. Many claim rock throws are aggressive, yet if they wanted to beam you, they could.
Absolutely.
And,
I mean, they're damn accurate.
They'd kill you with a rock.
Yeah. I put this in perspective. I'm just like an ordinary person that hasn't done tremendous amounts of training throwing rocks like Bigfoot have. Although when I was a kid, I used to actually train for a knife and tomahawk throwing competition. So I got pretty good at hitting something that I was throwing something at. And when I was out in the Bighorn Mountains, we actually had to chase down a herd of turkey because we ran out of food. We had wild turkeys running around there, and we had to chase them around a mountaintop for the better part of 2 hours before I could get close enough to bean it with a rock and kill it. Now, if I can manage to bean a wild turkey with a rock and kill it, you can damn well believe Bigfoot can do it, and he's been doing it since he was a little shit, right? But now he can pick up a rock the size of a pumpkin and throw it at you, and he's not going to miss.
No.
So honestly, if they, we think about, we got all the advantages because we got guns and stuff.
All right.
You know what happens when you get hit by a rock the size of a pumpkin? You're dead.
Yeah. Murray Fisher wants to know any opinion on Bigfoot deaths after Mount St. Helens years ago. You hear all those stories coming from that area during that time. What's your opinion on that?
I've actually heard some insider stuff from that, and it seems to be factual that there actually were crews there that were trying to help burned Bigfoot and render medical aid and whatnot to them, and also getting rid of bodies of ones that didn't survive it, so there would be evidence lying around. Yeah, we've heard that from a few different people that were supposedly there at the time, so that seems to be legit.
Well, it's pretty fascinating that they had a guy there that was like a translator and a human that was talking to the one creature.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard that report too, and it wouldn't surprise me if there's, it actually makes sense that there's probably government insiders that know what the hell their language is, can speak.
Sure. Let's see what else we got here. Have you ever been to Kat's area personally?
No, I haven't been down that far south. She's down in Arizona, and I'm way up in Montana. That's considerable distance. Trying to get her to come up here and visit, and she was saying she might come up here this summer. But
where is she in Arizona?
I'm not sure exactly. She moved again. It's like every 3-4 years she ends up moving, so I can't keep track of where she's at all the time. I know the new area she's in, she doesn't like it very much because she says there's too many stinking skinwalkers walking around there. And she doesn't get along with skinwalkers very well, so she doesn't like the area.
Traditionally, I mean, if she doesn't have native blood, traditionally skinwalkers don't bother white people. Just what I heard from somebody from up on the res.
Yeah, she does have native blood, so she is in trouble.
What is your thoughts on them burying? I'm guessing burying their dead.
There's no hard evidence for it. There's stories from some of the natives that they do. They probably do. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Sure.
We found one area out here where either one of them got caught under a log jam or they literally buried it in the middle of a river. So that one was buried, but not like we would bury one.
Sure. It's more or less hidden.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you think about it, if you bury it under a log jam in the middle of the river, who's going to find it? All the bones and everything will just wash away. It'll all be gone.
What are your thoughts on burying versus cannibalism?
Yeah, well, again, I think there's some of that going on too. If you're talking about the dog-snouted suckers or the Wendigo types, they literally might be eating the dead ones. That would not surprise me a bit because they're more adapted to cold environment and living. They're more adapted to just eating a pure meat diet. I mean, think about it. Most of the year it's winter. There isn't any veggies to eat really, unless you got 4 stomachs like a moose or a cow or something. You can't digest it. So their only real option for most of the year is to be eating meat. So they're adapted to a meat diet. So, Org, your buddy, just keeled over dead. Well, there's 800 pounds of meat lying right there.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and it ain't going to go bad because it's not going to start.
Excuse me.
Spring, which is like 5 months away.
Well, I did hear a story.
Once
somebody coming in a little broken up, Duke.
Seeing them, I don't know what I can do.
Now you sound better.
But there's a story of a witness actually shooting one, and it like screamed and went out toward a river, and some other ones came running out of the woods and basically
ripped it apart.
Ate it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that might not even been members of the same troop. You know, we don't know. It could have been an enemy troop that went, so and so, that bastard finally got it. Let's finish him up. We don't know.
Wow. What name is the really human ones looking or human looking ones called?
I call them type 1s. We just give about type classifications for them because we don't know any.
Sure.
We don't even know what the hell they call themselves. So, how many types of Bigfoot are there? That's another $64,000 question. Nobody knows. I lean toward there's 4 main types in North America, and I don't know if that's accurate or not. Seems to be right. So far, it seems to be right.
Trey's got a question. Duke, with your knowledge and inside info, what keeps you safe from cryptids and government? Do you feel safe?
Well, let's see. The cryptids love me and the government hates me, so I try to spend more of my time around the cryptids and less around the government.
Probably a good plan.
Just messing with you. No, I don't feel safe ever. You're not safe anywhere ever. You could be sitting in your big mansion and have a meteor fall out of the sky, go through the roof, and kill you. You're never safe. Get over it. You're only going to die as soon as God wants you to die. Till God wants you to die, no one can kill you. You're indestructible. There's my attitude.
Do you believe the Billy Joe McAllister story? Albert, I think that was just a made-up story, you know, to go along with that whole song, you know, with the Tallahatchie Bridge.
Jump off some Tallahatchie Bridge. Legend that went along with it. I haven't heard about it if there is. I mean, for all I know, it's Bigfoot related. I haven't heard anything about it.
Yeah, no, I think it was a made-up story just for that. How many varieties? Well, if you guys aren't going to come up with any more questions, we're already, an hour and 42 minutes into this.
Thanks for hanging in, Joyce.
Yeah, definitely. Everybody in chat, I got to thank you. All my mods, thank you so much. You know, you guys make this, you know, the show that it is. And I'm really, thank you so much, Duke, for coming on. It's really an honor to have you on. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time. Seeing as we hang out every day in the same place.
Yeah. Well, I don't do very many appearances on many shows. I decided I'm going to get in a few of them here before I get busy doing full-time making my own shows again when fall rolls around.
Yeah, no, and it's awesome. And my door is always open to you, you know, anytime you want to come in. Just let me know.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll come back again. Animal Research wants me back again. By deed, also over at BDRP to be on his show. So again, oh God. So now apparently I'll probably be on there again soon. He wants me back on. So
right on. All right, man. Well, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody in chat, guys. Thank you so much. If you enjoyed this tonight, you know, hit that subscribe, like, share. Duke, hang on, and I'll talk to you in a minute. I'm just going to go to single screen real quick.
All righty, guys.
Thank you again.
Take care, everyone. Yep. Love you guys.
All right, guys. Well, again, thank you so much for showing up tonight. And I'm so glad that Duke could be here with me and you guys had some amazing questions. So I will, I'll see you guys on Thursday. Try to come up with a guest. Otherwise we'll just, you know, do the normal Thursday, freestyle thing. But again, thank you so much, guys. You guys are awesome, and I'll see you guys soon. All right. You guys have a wonderful evening or night now, or morning shit in some places. Thanks for watching, and peace and God bless, guys.